Equity. In the context of sustainability, the term equity has to do with fairness, whether all people have similar rights and opportunities, basic needs to maintain an acceptable quality of life. Sa kontekstong ito, ang sustainability, ang equity ay nangahulugang fairness o pagkapantay-pantay ng mga tao tulad ng lamang ng mga karapatan at oportunidad. Because equal rights and opportunities has having a better organized improvement and quality of life. And quality is also fairness for development and production of sustainable materials. Equity in this context refers to the idea that all people throughout a community, whether a village, town, city, country, or the entire world, have these same basic needs that must be taken into consideration. Ang equity sa kontekstong ito ay tumutukoy sa idea na ang lahat ng mga tao sa buong isang pamayanan, maging isang nayon, bayan, lungsod, bansa o sa buong mundo, ay may ganitong mga pangunahing pangangailangan na dapat isaalang-alang. Ang konseptong ito ay tinatawag ding intra-generational equity. Intra-generational equity is a concern with equity between people of the same generation and aims to assure justice among human beings. Isang halimbawa ng equity. Ang mga kalalakihan at kababaihan ay may parehong mga pagkakataong pagdating sa napili para sa isang trabaho, na ang mga taong mahihirap ay may parehong posibilidad na mag-aral bilang pinakamayaman, o lahat ay pante-pantay sa harap ng batas.
Law of equity. Equity is a separate system law from common law. It has different rules, principles, and remedies. Common law is the body of customary law which originated in the Curia Regis, King's Court, London. English common law was primarily developed by judges and was based on judicial decisions and precedents. So, ang equity law daw at common law ay magkaiba, lalong-lalo na sa principles, rules, at remedies. Law of equity because of the following two main reasons. Under common law, there was only one remedy available: damages. Thus, a just and fair remedy couldn't always be given through common law where monetary compensation was not suitable. This remedy did not always have a significant, including impact within cases. So, sinasabi dito na ang common law daw ay isang makatarungan at patas, ngunit hindi angkop ang kabayaran sa pera. Dahil ito ay hindi laging may isang makabuluhang epekto sa pagtatapos ng mga kaso. A civil action under common law could only be started by the means of a writ, which was a legal document where it was written why and on what legal basis a person was being sued. Problems arose when a matter was not covered by any writ. Making of the writs with every new case was stopped in the 13th century, and this meant that if a case was not already covered by the writs, it was carried forward. Ang civil action sa common law ay maaari lamang magsimula kung ang nilalaman ng dokumento ay legal na batayan ang tao kapag nausik.
Equity was mainly thought of a fairness, and it was very powerful law as it overcame the conflict with the common. The chancellor decided the case of which the king had taken note. He did so by largely relying on his sense of fairness and justice, and thus developed a large body of principle which became law of equity. It was very important to solve the conflict between the law of equity and the common law. This was achieved in the 1615 Earl of Oxford case. In this case, the king decided that between the conflict of common law and equity should prevail. And my explanation, equity ang pinaka-powerful na law para ma-resolve ang conflict ng patas at pantay na the presiding judge of Chancery Court o yung chancellor na i-pronounce ang result na itatala naman ng king This system goes through proper process na kung saan merong pantay at patas sa kanila. At dahil dito nabuo ang law of equity sapagkat napakahalagang malutas ang mga hidwaan sa pagitan ng common law at law of equity at nangyari ito noong taong 1615 sa case ng Earl Oxfords. Kaya nag-decide yung king na mas mananaig o mangibabaw ang law of equity. For example, may conflict or misunderstanding yung dalawang partido na malapit sa'yo, wala kang mapapaboran sa kanila bagkus kung ano ang kinakailangan ng parehong panig, yun ang pupunan mo based on law of equity.
Principle of equity. The body of the law of equity is preserved in the following 12 maxims. These maxims are general principles adapted to administer justice and fairness. They govern the law of equity and are discretionary. The maxim in Latin is ubi jus ibi remedium, which means where there is a right, there is remedy. It must be kept in mind that this principle is applicable only where the right and the remedy both are within the jurisdiction of the court. The body or context of the law of equity and is preserved with 12 maxims or rules. These rules are administered and adapted to justify and give fairness to each interested party. The maxim in Latin is ubi jus ibi remedium, which means where there is a right, there is remedy. In other words, if conflicts arises with each right, it can be resolved within the jurisdictions of the court. Example, in Ashby v. White, a qualified voter was not allowed to vote and thus he sued the returning officer. This case deals with the principle laid down in this maxim. Example, if a person has been granted a right, he is also granted with a remedy.
Equity follows the rule, means that a party who has in equity can recover the precise things that he or she look up rather than monetary damages as a substitute for it. This maxim is a remedy of specific performances. So, example ko po dito sa equity follows the rule. Decision includes imposing a line, correcting a property lane, or ordering someone to do something prevent damages. An additional ko naman po dito, why we need equity law. Legal system could strike the balance between the rule-making process and the need to achieve fair result in individual and separate circumstances.
This maxim is also applicable in the following legal provision. Number 1. Section 19A of the Indian Contract Act, the plaintiff must restore all the benefits arising from the contract which is rescinded by him. Dapat ibalik ng nasasakdal ang lahat ng mga benepisyo na nagmumula sa kontrata na kinansela. Number 2. Section 35 of Transfer of Property Act, the doctrine of election say that a benefit under a legal instrument must be adapted with all of the provision and obligation under such as an instrument. Sinasabi ng doktrina ng halalan na ang isang benepisyo sa ilalim ng isang legal na instrumento ay dapat na gamitin sa lahat ng mga probisyon at obligasyon sa ilalim ng naturang instrument. Number 3. The doctrine of consolidation of mortgage, where a borrower has mortgaged different properties to secure separate debts and he default on one of those debts. His doctrine also for the lender to pull the asset which were secured by the borrower and to release those secured asset against the total sum owing. Dito naman, kung saan ang isang nanghihirap ay nagsangla ng iba't ibang mga pag-aari upang makatiyak na magkakawalay ang mga utang. At pag nag-fail siya sa isa sa mga nahiram niya, pinapayagan ng doktrina ito na ipahiram ng tagapagpahiram ang mga asset na kung saan sinigurado ng nanghihiram at upang mapagtanto ang mga nakasecure na asset laban sa kabuuan halaga ng utang. Number 4, Order 8, Rule 6 of the CPC, the doctrine of the set-off. In case of mutual debt between two litigating parties, the amount due to one party shall be set off by the same amount which is due to the other party, and only the residuary amount shall be claimed. Dito sa kaso na to, ang utang ng bawat isa sa pagitan ng dalawang partido na nagpapalitan ng halaga dapat bayaran sa isang partido ay dapat na itakda sa pamamagitan ng parehong halaga na dapat bayaran sa kabilang partido at halaga lamang ng residuary ang dapat makuha.
Equality is equity. This principle is expressed by the Latin maxim equitis is quasi-equalitis, which means equality is equity. The ordinary law may give one party advantage over the other, but the court of equity, whatever possible, puts the parties on an equal footing. Equality is giving everyone the exact same resources. For example, may dalawang batang humingi sa'yo. Kung ano yung binigay mo sa isang bata, ganun din yung matatanggap ng isang bata. Kumbaga, ikaw lang sila nung natanggap. Samantalang equity, ito yung involved distributing resources based on the needs of the recipients. Ang equity, ito yung pagiging patas sa pagtrato mo sa bawat tao based sa kanilang pangangailangan at kalagayan. Equity acts in persona. These maxims state the equity applies to the person rather than the property. The equity court's coercive power arose from their authority to hold the violator in contempt of a court and punish accordingly. Since the law of equity was applicable to the person and not the property, it could also apply to the property outside the jurisdiction, provided that the person was within the jurisdiction. Itong law, equity na ito ay mas ina-apply sa tao kaysa sa property kasi sila yung may power o authority na gawin o hawakan yung isang kaso o nagkasala upang harapin yung isang punishment na binigay ng nakakataas. At sila din yung may kakayanan na gumawa ng desisyon o bumuo ng isang punishment.